Hello everyone. Today we are going to be chatting about a couple marketing scenarios that you guys told me that you're currently struggling with. And then I'm just going to give some ideas about how we could solve them or think outside the box or get new eyes on our brands. And these are like things that you guys wrote in to me or asked me. Before we start with that, I wanted to let you guys know that I did hear your feedback about the marketing mentoring, and I went ahead and added a payment plan. What I was trying to do is do a payment plan through Klarna or Afterpay, but apparently those can be kind of tricky to use. The reason that I didn't want to do a bigger, like a longer payment plan is because last year when I did the group mentoring, I did quite a 4 different types of payment plans, and a couple of those payments didn't end up getting paid because people just switched their debit card or something happened, and then I ended up having to be the person like chasing people around to get money, which is obviously like the worst possible scenario. So I split it into 2 payments because I know this is kind of slow season for a lot of people, but I want to say that it has been so fun, and watching people start to see things transform and get more visibility has been really beautiful, because I know that I don't know that we've been in a more worrisome sort of economic situation right now, just with so many unknowns. So it's been really helpful to help people pivot a little bit and put themselves out there. Sometimes you just need someone there holding your hand and letting you know that it's okay to try new things. So if that has been holding you back, go ahead and check into that. I also simplified it so it no longer requires a start date. You can just choose. I added all the Zoom calls to my Acuity scheduler, so you can just go in there and pick whatever works for you for 4 Zoom calls over 8 weeks. Okay, so let's get into it. So the first question was somebody who was traditionally doing like newborn family, and they're wanting to move into women's empowerment and boudoir. And if you heard the last set of marketing reviews, there was someone who was kind of in a similar camp to this, but I have seen this move and it's becoming a little bit more common. So obviously boudoir is not something that I feel like I can speak on with any authority, because I've never done boudoir either as a photographer or a client, and I'm not familiar with the marketing. I do know that a lot of boudoir photographers have struggled to market because not everyone wants pictures of themselves in lingerie everywhere, but there are a lot of Facebook groups that are dedicated to boudoir, and they seem to have found systems that work, whether it's like private Facebook groups or whatever. So I'll kind of speak more to the women's empowerment thing. So part of the plan that this photographer had was to do a giveaway. And it's been a while since we chatted about giveaways, so that's one thing that I want to talk about, because spring is like prime giveaway season. That's kind of our slow season as family photographers. Everyone, if we're honest, is starting to have a little bit of an internal freak out, like they miss working. If you were to say, do a giveaway in October, we would all be like, no, if I have to photograph one more child, I'm going to just shoot myself up to Mars. But at this time of year, and I feel it too, even though I have sessions on the calendar, I feel that creativity starting to awaken. And I always think of it like in spring, everything is coming back to life, and that kind of includes the family photographers. So often when people are trying to get heads to turn towards their business, they will dabble with giveaways. So my theory with giveaways is that they are usually completely underutilized. So the mistake number 1 is not making them hyperlocal. Like, you do not want people who are just giveaway hounds from people that aren't even in your area at all, just entering for the sake of entering. I think that every giveaway ideally should be also a partnership, because a giveaway can be a lot to manage, and it's really nice if you can include multiple things in your giveaway that don't necessarily have to do with just your business, that can double down on its locality. So the giveaway that I did last year was with a local spa. So only people who could physically come to the spa were going to enter the giveaway. And I'm in the same town as the spa, so it all worked out together. I ended up doing that giveaway session and it was great. Even I, being the marketing teacher, underutilized that giveaway. One thing I did do is I tracked everyone who entered the giveaway. And then after I chose the winner, I had already decided that there was going to be a secondary offer for everyone who entered the giveaway who seemed like they were a real person. If you've done a giveaway, then you know that sometimes you'll be like, I'm sorry, Mike from New Jersey, when I live in Washington, I don't think that you meant to enter the giveaway. I don't know if that's bots or what, but partnering with someone local can help it get even more eyes on your giveaway, which is great, but also drive home the fact that this giveaway is literally only for local people. So I had a secondary offer, which was a percentage of money off a studio shoot. This particular giveaway was through my studio, and every single person who entered the giveaway got that deal. And I had 3 people take me up on that deal to get the money off of the studio shoots, and they came into the studio. So that is a way to think outside the box. Here's how I see it done. It's like, I'm giving away a session and I want as many people as possible, and then I'm going to give away the session to the person, and then you never hear about it again. And perhaps there's things happening internally with that photographer, but more so they are chasing new likes and follows. But what's more interesting to me, of course, and what should be most interesting to everyone, is actually capturing those people as potential clients. So if you can somehow get them on an email list, if that's part of the getaway or giveaway, the getaway from the bad giveaway is what we're talking about here. So if there's a way that you can capture them, that's how you're going to get the most bang out of your buck. Okay, so this particular person has a very valid fear, which is mixing genres. So obviously there are some, so if you go to my new website, I rebuilt my entire website from scratch after it crashed on Friday with a new theme. And it was really fun because I was able to rebuild it in the way that I teach websites. But on there, I'm talking about a lot of different things, and I think it's pretty successfully done. However, it would be very difficult to have a website that talked about women's empowerment, boudoir, and newborn or family, just because there are such different talking points. No matter if the style is cohesive, it's still very much a different feel. So this person was saying, should I start a new account? Should I have a different website? And my answer to that would be yes. Her worry was that she didn't think she had enough content to make those things a reality. Having just put myself in the position of having to rebuild my website from scratch, it wasn't that much content that I needed. I feel like people think they need such a wide variety. We do want to be able to showcase our consistency, but if you have a couple model calls, you can usually fill in the holes there. And she was going to have a videographer come, which is amazing because you guys know how I feel about video. You know how I feel about YouTube being part of our overall strategy. So that is all great. She also had a question of Pinterest. Now, when we're talking about boudoir, I don't know how that translates on Pinterest because I don't know if boudoir images are showcased on Pinterest. I don't know the rules. So I just don't feel comfortable talking too much about boudoir, but I do remember seeing the strategy of building that business on a private Facebook group where friends invite friends and you can invite people who are interested. And the idea is within that Facebook group, it's kind of a safe place to showcase sessions so that they're not just blasted out to the public. Of course, there may always be some creeper who gets their way into the Facebook group or whatever, but I don't know how else you showcase these images unless you're able to find a consistent stream of models who are okay with their boudoir images being on your public website. But if we're talking about women's empowerment, Pinterest is a great place for that. So if you created a marketing campaign centered around women's empowerment and Pinterest was part of that, I feel like that could be very successful because I'm pretty sure the people who use Pinterest is like 98.8 women. So you definitely got your target overall audience there. Okay, then she is also doing a little bit of branding photography. So I just want to say that I feel for this photographer because this is how I am. I'm not doing boudoir and I'm not doing women's empowerment, but I am doing adventure shoots, midway shoots, newborn shoots, family shoots, senior shoots, branding shoots, a couple of those things then repeated in the studio. So I understand this fear of being confusing, but having just gone through this rebuild, I do think it's possible. And I think it's possible through a very clear homepage and info pages. So she has been also using a LinkedIn strategy for her branding work, which is really brilliant because, of course, you're going to have professionals on LinkedIn who are going to see your work in a whole new light as opposed to Instagram or Facebook. Now, here's where the info page can be so helpful again. If she has, let's say she has women's empowerment and branding and boudoir, or maybe boudoir just has to be its own thing. So let's say she had women's empowerment and branding, and the whole website was like about that. And that was the thing. And she had one page for women's empowerment and one info page that was for branding. Then it's so easy to simply, every time she posts a link, it's to that info page for branding on LinkedIn. And every time she talks about women's empowerment, it's the info page on Pinterest. That info page separator is the way that we can get so much clarity in our marketing. So here she said one of her plans is to blog once a month and do a once a month newsletter. So part of this, and this is something that I've been talking about in marketing mentoring a lot, is like, what do you actually have the bandwidth to do? So like we can have, and I've been so impressed with some of my students where I'm like, okay, what can we get done in the next 2 weeks? Because generally how it's structured, we have a Zoom call and then they have 2 weeks of work with me supporting on Voxer. So if they have questions or they want to send me something, they can send me there. Then we check in again in another 2 weeks. So it's this work period of 2 weeks, but not everybody understands their capacity of what they can accomplish within that 2 weeks. Some people are really honest and they're like, I can do one thing. Like I can take this website and create a couple info pages in those 2 weeks, but I know if I promise you more, I'm just going to let myself down. And there's other people that are like, I'm in this 8-week time frame to work as hard as I can, so let me try to get all of it done. So if we're talking about a once a month blog and a once a month newsletter, for me in growth mode, that feels like, especially on the blogging end, that feels like a little bit too little of a push. So I have noticed that consistently blogging, again, we go back to this idea of like, what's your launch pad? What's your marketing launch pad? And for, I think, more people than they realize, it's blogging. And so if you can commit to blogging once a week over the course of a year, your business will be in a completely different place. Not only will you have so much more confidence as a marketer, but you'll understand so much more about how you like to communicate those blog posts or those ideas or those sessions. And then once you've created them, you have physically this link that represents this content, and then you can spread it around more places. So my thing would be, I'm in the place now where I'm like, be really careful about newsletters. Because I've seen newsletters done so well, they take a lot of energy when they are done well. And the newsletters that are just sort of like half-assed are fine, but they still end up taking a lot of energy and not producing a lot of output. So if it was women's empowerment and it was like a roundup style newsletter where you're like going through your community, your local community, and pulling events. And like we have this thing here on the island that opened a couple months ago or maybe a year ago where it's like a sauna and a cold plunge. And it's a really cute, like well done, kind of beautiful little business. So that business could be an example that you could put in there. We also have a woman who is a client of mine who has a float pool where you just go and you float on your back and the sky is there like it's a fake starry sky, and she plays music. And then you could have a salon. You could have someone who specializes in styling. You could gather up all the people and the businesses and the support systems for women who are trying to take it from here to there. Career coaches, nutritionists, whatever it is. And you could have a roundup style newsletter where you collaborate with those people and you're all sharing helpful tips to this one target audience. If we are honest about two things about that idea, one is it's probably going to be very impactful for everyone involved. It's also going to be a lot of work. So you can't do it all. And my recommendation would be to do one thing. This is what I want. This is what I want to challenge everyone to do. And I'm going to put out a challenge for February, I think, on my Instagram. Tomorrow, maybe I'll do it in the broadcast channel, where I just want to say for February, be really good at one marketing channel. If it's Instagram, come up with a plan to show up in a way that's not you hiding in your stories or posting one static post. If it's a newsletter, actually plan to send out 4 newsletters in the month of February. If it's ads, figure out how to get your ads up and running early in the month so that you can be tweaking and tracking and gathering data on those. If it's being out in the community, find 2 events in February that you are physically going to go to. I have my 2, being the person who's trying to say, I'm also out here. So I have an event on Tuesday morning that's on my island. And then in mid-February, I have an event in Seattle. Both are geared towards small business owners, and both are just helping me to spread my awareness of myself in my actual community. So February, take that challenge of just finding one thing and going all in on it and just seeing what changes, because the hardest part about being a marketing educator is like, I wish I could do it for people. Like, I wish I could, I had like some minion type person who is an implementer, and I could bring them with me and then just like put all this out into the world. And then we just sit back and watch and we see how it flows. But that's just not how it is. We are the people who are doing this work. So going all in on one channel in the month of February is going to be the challenge. So for this particular creator, if let's say this particular photographer, let's say she decided to go all in on a newsletter and she was going to put out 2 to 3 new newsletters in let's say even the next quarter. Let's say she said 4 newsletters in the next quarter, and they were going to be geared towards women's empowerment, and she was going to create some sort of freebie or something to grow that list and then have it be sponsored by her photography business. That could be something that she could go all in on, because then she can also talk about all of that stuff on other channels as she has time. Okay, so then the second person was a newborn photographer who ranks fairly well with SEO. They feel like they get quite a few people from Instagram, and that's just like a feeling. It's not tracked data, but they were wondering about an in-person strategy for newborn. So an in-person strategy for newborn is going to be this very similar to an in-person strategy for any business. Like if I was only doing newborns, then going to the 2 events that I'm going to this month that are in person, eyes on eyes, people shaking hands, I can still go to all of those as a newborn photographer specialist, because everybody else knows other humans on planet Earth who are having babies or maybe pregnant. And so that isn't going to discount you. And I feel like definitely newborn photographers struggle in this realm of feeling kind of like professional, because they feel like they can only be around and or talk to people directly involved in the baby industry. But you can definitely go out and talk to people and meet with people who are outside of that industry and just let them know that you exist. Okay, so I would say find things. Obviously, if you can find women-centered things, then that's awesome. Just because statistically you're going to talk to more women who are interested in referring their women friends. But I mean, there's this group of photographers that started meeting, just very, non-seriously, just to kind of support each other. And so we were talking about dads and how many more dads have come out of the woodwork and have actually started booking sessions. So that's not to say that dads won't be around. Okay. This senior photographer is struggling to market in a way that talks to both seniors and parents. And so my advice for that is going to be deep into storytelling. So if I was growing a senior business, which technically I am, but I have way too much going on, I need someone to like come with some sort of zapper. And anytime I get a new idea, they can just like, make me stop. But if I was, let's say, trying to go all in on seniors, then I would invite a senior and her mom, probably her mom or her dad or whoever, to my studio, and I would film us interacting and talking about what she wanted for the session. I would then get the content behind the scenes, anything I could help her with styling, tell the story of those sessions, And that would be my strategy, because that sort of content is going to draw the parent in and the child. Because that is the tricky thing, is you need to come off professionally enough that the parent has trust, but playfully enough that the child buys in, right? So it's like storytelling can bridge the gap of both of those. The parent can see you being like a professional, normal person in a conversation, and also being playful and bringing their child out of their shell, producing beautiful senior images. So that would be my thing there is, and I feel like ads, especially local, hyper local Facebook ads, I feel like can be really helpful for seniors. So those are the two kind of things that I would try. This next one was basically just a general question around getting more traction around spring. So again, Facebook ads can be really helpful when they're targeted this far out from when spring is beginning, to try to like build your email list. So you could build your email list off of spring-centered freebie of spring things that are happening in your town, or again, a roundup or a collaboration, or that strategy could be part of a giveaway like we talked about in the beginning in terms of getting attention on spring. You could even sponsor or put together a welcome spring event. I have literally always wanted to do this, but ever since I've had my studio, so that would be 2022, I've wanted to do like a welcome spring motherhood event in my studio. I just don't think I have a big enough studio to support the type of event that I'm talking about. But basically it would just be like a mom's tea party sponsored by my business and maybe a couple other businesses in town. And then having the moms come together and get to, especially moms and daughters, getting to like dress up a little bit with their daughters in spring dresses. And now I really want to do this. This is my problem. So anyway, someone steal this idea so I don't do it. And have the moms and daughters come and have tea. And then I would get a few very simple images of them in the studio together. So it would be like a tea plus photo plus welcome spring florals type of thing. And is that like a big thing? Well, tea and scrumpets. So my like little best friend when I was growing up was from England. So we had tea and scrumpets every day at 4. So tea and scrumpets is like still, such a comfort for me. None of that is particularly expensive. If you partnered with a couple other businesses to cover the hosting fee, for example, being the person who provides the place of community in your town can be really powerful to get eyes to turn toward your business. So again, all of this that we're talking about, even though it feels uncomfy, is visibility. That's all we're working on. That's all we're trying to do. So what it can't be, and I just want to touch on this really quickly, that this week has been just like a fire hose of just changes, and there's a lot of uncertainty and whatever. I think that swinging it back around to our communities is just the overarching focus that I have for my goals. I want my attention to be to my community. I want to make money so I can give money to my community. I want to be a source of like family photography, newborn photography. All of these types of photography are a way to bring joy to people. Like that's the thing. Yes, these businesses are something that maybe if the economy is really rough, people write them off. Maybe that's true. Although I started my business in the last recession, which was a difficult time to be in business, but people still hired me and I still was working a lot. And so it's not like people write it off completely. And if you can sell the joy and sell the connection so that other people have the opportunity to buy into something positive when we're in a fire hose of poop, like that can also be your business can become a bit of a bright spot in whatever is happening with the community, because there's always going to be people who have funds. There's always going to be new babies who are born. There's always going to be mothers who are not going to just let go of their family photos because everything is awful. This might be the year that families need photos together more than ever. And if you decided to just switch your mindset and focus on that and bring positivity and bring joy and put yourself out there in a new way, then you could do more for your community than just becoming your own successful business, which we know when women do that, they give back. And that's the beauty of, that's like my underfoundation. My brain is shutting down as we speak. The underlying goal of helping with this is so that you are able to make the impact that you want as a creative business owner. So, okay. Oh, and then I had a few other questions come in. One was about trial reels. So I had posted in the broadcast channel that Instagram, so I get these features, and then Instagram, and I think it's just because I'm above 10K, I get looped into this like, you should do this. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I drudged up this reel that I had from forever ago, and I put it in trial reels because they're like, great visibility. New people will see your account. Literally 3 people saw it. So it's still up there. I haven't even checked it, but it definitely didn't take off. What a trial reel is it's a reel that you create and it goes out to people that are not following you. So it's this way to, if you're nervous about being perceived or being seen by your current audience, you can create content as trial reels and it won't go to your audience at all. It kind of tests the water, and the goal is to try to bring new eyes to your business. So even though my first one wasn't successful, you all know that I'm not just going to give up. That's just data. So now I'm going to try with a different type of reel and just see what happens, because I kind of like the vibe of it. I kind of like the idea behind, okay, this is going to people who don't follow me. So it's a chance to kind of introduce myself and not worry about perception at all. So definitely something, if you have it on your account, which according to that Adam guy, everyone should have it by now. The other thing that they changed is now you can do 3-minute reels. And that's not to say that everyone should do 3-minute reels. I could probably do a 3-minute reel because I'm like a professional yapper. But if you're not a professional yapper, you now know you're not, if you wanted to do like a longer 2024 recap video, or you wanted to do an education piece on styling, or you wanted to do a story that was going to take longer than 90 seconds, just know that you do have that availability. And if your content is good, people will watch. I find myself like on TikTok, you can record for 10 minutes. There's many creators who I love hearing what they say, or I'm sorry, this is totally off topic, but the breakdown of this Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, like situation has become my distraction. Also, if you have time, look into her extremely insane barbecue blog post that she wrote. But I will listen to someone who has a very engaging storytelling voice and they're just talking about it for 10 minutes. So that's just to say that if you are a longer form creator, then you now have that opportunity through Instagram. Okay, that's all I have for you this week. Next week's episode is going to be something that I haven't planned yet. I thought I had them all planned, but next week I had skipped forward in my little calendar and there's nothing there. So I think I'm just going to kind of gauge on what people seem to be worried about, or I might do one on Facebook ads. So if you think that would be helpful, let me know. And also, I would like to get, if possible, any other reviews on the podcast. So if you have a second and you really appreciated the podcast, I would love a review. That would mean so much to me. But I know every podcast host asks me that, and I rarely do it. So I totally understand. But if you have it on your mind and you happen to be near the app, I would appreciate it. All right, have a good week.